everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. We appreciate your attention to Penn State Athletics on Fall Sports Media Day. I'd like to introduce Greg Nye. He's the head men's golf coach at Penn State. He begins his 28th year here at Penn State and 36th year overall. Between he and Coach Rose, there's more than 80 years of coaching experience, so it's kind of nice to have them both here at the same time. But Coach Nye is our longest tenured golf coach in Penn State history, and will be embarking in the next 2 years on the centennial for Penn State men's golf. This year we have 7 returning letter winners, and we have 4 newcomers. The 4 newcomers is one of our largest freshman classes ever. So with that, I'll let Coach Nye make a statement or two about this season, and then we'll open it up for questions.
It is a lot of coaching.
That's a lot of coaching.
Yeah, I was listening to Coach Rose. I have a team that has similar experience. So a few pointers from Coach Rose as he spoke. We do have 4 newcomers, and when I speak of the experience factor, that's going to be a challenge for us. We have 2 players coming back in Alec Bart and Ryan Davis, who have, if you look at these statistics, they are on a course where they've started most of the time since they were freshmen here. So they have a ton of experience, and we're going to look to them for leadership. And we are kind of turning the page. We've had a good 5 or 6 year run. It's been tough to get in our lineup, and those players have been working and waiting. Their opportunity really is strong, and now for our sophomores and juniors along with these freshmen. So that's going to be that's the fun part, really. It's the turning the page and working with new people. So that's where we're at to start the year. And open it up to questions. Well, I think the past week is really the energy. When these guys, they keep telling you they cannot wait to get to campus, and when they get here, and we don't start practice till Friday, and boy, they've been busy and all over it since they've gotten here. So they're souped up, and I get energy from them, and that's simply it. And looking forward to the creation of a new group. Really, there's some science to it for sure, but there's going to be some art as well, and that art is going to be shared with T.J. Howe, my assistant, and these 2 seniors that I have in a leadership form. There's going to be these are the things you have to do, and these are the things that could happen, and here's the feel of this particular situation or golf course or this particular trip. So we look forward to, that's really the fun, is absorbing their energy and getting energy from them and giving it back, and then the science and art of putting together a new group.
28 years, Coach. Do you ever think Scott has the better job?
Oh, my brother Scott. Yeah. It depends on what time of the year we are asked that question, Jack. Scott is the director of golf, head golf professional at Marion Golf Club down in Philadelphia. I have asked him, this place is a busy, busy place. Everybody in the world wants to play there, and you'd think his older brother could get the Nittany Lions on the golf course. And since they've had the opens down there, this is how busy he is. We have no open tee times for the fall. Can you imagine a golf course that has no open tee times for the fall? So, it depends on what time of year you ask that question. And if you ask me that question in mid-March, after 5 weeks of back and forth across the country, that's a tough spot, but super busy.
You had 2 guys who just graduated turned professional. Were there any? Were you involved in any of their choices? I know JD made up his mind a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, we've got 2 JDs recently that are in that.
I was referring to JD
JD Dornis and JD Hughes, who you know. I think he made up his mind a long time ago. I think you're right. He knew what he wanted to do, and it was late this summer. He had an internship that he finished up, and I believe he played the Pennsylvania Amateur, and then off he went. Once you go, right? So, and Charles has played his first professional event after his internship, so they're just getting started and looking forward to this fall in the qualifying schools and getting going with that. And I think at some point in his sophomore or junior year, Cole Miller decided, and that decision was, I think, kind of made between he and his parents, and his mother was Jenny was interesting in how she put it to him, and it was all about him kind of getting going in college and doing a little bit better job in college before he made that next step. So she was pretty firm about that, and we had some fun with that. So, and J.D. Dornis from several years ago, I think that was his intent as he went through his final 2 years at Penn State and had some success against really strong players. I think that's probably the marker you look for in college. Is you have to take a look at the top end of strong Division I fields and how competitive are you with those people, and that's the thing we do talk about. And if you can be competitive with those people, then it's not a waste of time and resources if you go and head the professional way.
How much does it help to have your last two assistant coaches have been guys who have played on different tours? How much does it help in those discussions? And will TJ be involved in discussions with potentially Ryan and Alec this year?
Well, I think no doubt that they talked with Mark and TJ, both guys who played 6 years of professional golf, and they probably should do more of it because they're a great resource. So that's certainly not something they're going to expound on without being asked the question. So, like all resources, you as a person have got to reach out and go after those and use those resources. But they are both very experienced, accomplished professional golfers. That fantastic resource for those guys. He's referring to Mark Leon and TJ Howe, my assistant, and with TJ, he's a guy who's played a couple U.S. Opens, so that's a guy you might want to pay attention to. So, yeah.
We got another question.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Biggest question for you is, in 28 years now with Penn State, obviously a lot has changed with the kids from the guys you were recruiting from the beginning to now. What do you feel like within the sport itself, even in the conference, have been the biggest changes during your tenure?
That's that is interesting. I think the biggest change, and it's I think it comes down to number one, two things. When I first started, junior golf wasn't developed to the point that it is today with the various tours that these young people can play. There is a multitude of events in junior golf that these young people can get involved with. Statistical ranking services is very different. But probably one of the biggest things, if not the biggest, it seems that each of the student athletes have their own coach. They call them swing coaches. I would say coach might be a bit of a strong word. That would be what I do. But they really work with one person, or they may have worked with two people before they ever get here, and they continue to work with those people while they're in our midst. So when I first started coaching, that wasn't the case. So, if you were a coach that could teach, not only the technical side of the game, but the side that I work on a great deal now, and that's playing of the game, you had a big advantage. But now that's not necessarily the case. You're getting people that are coming in that have these instructors that they've been with for a while. So how do you handle that? Do you teach them a new method, or do you let it go and trust that the work that they've done with these people is on target and is going to serve them well? The latter is usually the case.
And just to follow that up, with 4 newcomers this coming season,
Mhm.
what is sort of the adjustment like? In other sports, we see athletes take a red shirt. Obviously, not really the case here, but
Right.
but for golf specifically, what is that adjustment? And is there sort of a timetable that you feel like it takes new coming golfers to acclimate to being here at Penn State?
Yeah, there is an adjustment. Junior golf is not high level amateur golf, and only the highest level of amateur golf would be a match for top level Division I golf. So this will be an adjustment. They're going to face teams where maybe 2 of the guys on the other team have finished, won a state championship or have some high honor or won a big tournament, and it may flow 6, 7 deep on these teams. They're playing against the champions of states and other countries, and they've never seen that before. It's a different level. So you go out and you shoot on a scoreable day on a good golf course, and you shoot, say, a mid-70s round. In a junior tournament, you're right in the event. In the college event, you got some catching up to do. So that's a big adjustment, and then traveling with a team and feeling the pressure of playing with a team. If you've had that opportunity, that's great, but the whole idea of being a student athlete and the challenge of getting all your work done and feeling like you're in a good spot going on the road with that, having everything pretty well tied up and under control, and making these long trips, and they are long from the middle of Pennsylvania to get down to where we need to play and compete against the best Division I programs. That's also something they haven't seen. So that's where the leadership comes in. And that's where those seniors are going to be very valuable, and those really are your big adjustments.
You mentioned Davis and Bart again, and I'm just curious to know how much more involved are they going to be, on your practice round days when, last year you'd had an entire team that had played the golf course before, and this year it's just going to be those 2.
Right. Last year was like at times. This is when I was in that situation. I felt like I could put a nickel in the slot and it would just go. Right. They were so experienced, and our seniors are going to have to step up. They're gonna have in the round. They're going to have to be vocal. They're going to have to listen to the younger players and have discussions, and we're going to need to follow that up as coaches on particular holes, and when we do our evening sessions before an event, we're going to have to do it again. And so that's going to be a big thrust of what we need to do this year that's very different than what we've done in previous years.
So, Coach, if you could also speak to that was a great point made by Jack. You could speak to the travel this year. This fall, Penn State will be traveling mostly to the North Carolina area and East Tennessee. But next, in the spring, we will be crisscrossing. Will you speak to the golf courses that the team will be playing on this fall?
Yeah, the golf courses that we're going to be playing this fall, Duke is a strong Robert Trent Jones course, but the Old Town Club at Wake. I just had one of my freshmen. He's all excited about going to the possibility of going to Old Town Club because one of his best buddies on another collegiate team said Old Town was one of the best collegiate golf courses he's ever played on. So speaks highly to that golf course. And then Coldstream down in Cincinnati, we only saw the practice rounds down there last year. If you look on our schedule, we had 2 events last year that got rained out, and I don't know that I've had many experiences with losing tournaments before, but you remember all the hurricanes last year. We got one coming right now, I guess, but boy, we had some bad luck with that. But Coldstream's a heck of a golf course. It's one of the better ones in the state of Ohio down in Cincinnati. And then we returned to a golf course where we've been successful in the past at Blackthorn, and that's down in Johnson City in the Bank of Tennessee event. And In the spring, we will be headed back to the golf courses that we use over at Hammock Beach. So the conservatory, I think, is where our focus will be this year with the Big Ten Championship. And we're going to get a couple looks at the University of Florida's golf course. Now that's kind of a fun tournament for us to head to. It's a super competitive field, and of our first 8 events, I've got to say that they're top tier Division I tournaments, and that's going to be a big challenge for our new players. But they're going to really get a strong look at some outstanding golf courses and great competition. They're going to get a full dose, and their learning curve could be huge over the course of this year. And that was certainly coaching intent to do that. We will return to the Great Water course, which was down at the Linger Longer, which has had a complete makeover. The Jack Nicklaus design down there. So I'm really excited to see the improvements they've made at Great Water, which was already an outstanding golf course. And the Dunes Club in Myrtle Beach is a new site for us, and a lot of people talk very well of the Dunes Club. So, and then we finish up with our schedule in our home tournament, and then out at Ohio State, 2 places we've been to before, and Rich Harvest Farms out in Chicago, where we played in the national final. Davis and Bart again did play in that national final at Rich Harvest Farms in their freshman year. So yeah, Rose, that's kind of a rundown on where we'll be headed.
Any other questions for Coach?
Yeah.
Jack?
You mentioned at the beginning you're at the end of an era, and your trend kind of supports that, where you make the national championship, then you fall out in the regional, and then the next year you don't make it to a regional. How important is it to kind of reverse that trend this year, or are you thinking we're going to make it back to the NCAA's next year?
Well, this is a press conference, so it's going to be heard out there by my players. So of course we're heading there this year, Jack. But you're right. It's going to be a big challenge, and they can do it. They can do it. If the chemistry comes together, these guys have done a lot of work, and if we coach them well and they pay attention, then we could do some exciting things with an excited group. So, but the lessons learned along the way. We hope we don't have to learn too many of them, and we can make a few more birdies than bogeys and string some things together. It can happen. And but there is a cyclical nature to it, right? So, yeah. So we're hoping that we go hard this year for our 2 seniors, and we also look forward to next gen.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Ethan, how'd that sound, that back and forth, Jack and I? Sound like camp?